Okay, so my name is Wes Ahana Pearson, recording for BlackAsiaMagazine, and right now we're in the era of Black Lives Matter. These protests, these marches and demonstrations are happening all over the world. They're having a huge impact on cities in Asia. So right now I'm sitting down and talking to some of the organizers of these events out here in Asia. And so I'm talking to Stephanie, who's here in Taiwan, Jane, who's in Hong Kong, and Kina, who's in Osaka, if I'm correct. So first, can the three of you ladies just introduce yourselves? Where did you grow up and where are you living right now? So can we start with Steph and then Jane and then Kina?
Hey everybody, my name's Stephanie. I'm a military kid, born and raised a little bit of everywhere, but I moved to Taiwan from St. Louis, Missouri. So that's where I'm from. Regarding what I'm doing, I'm an ESL teacher like most of us living abroad. And yeah, that's all I got.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Jane JJ. I've been in Asia for about 9 years. I'm originally from Maryland, and I came over first to work in China, actually, to do licensing. I'm in marketing and brand awareness and licensing. So I did that in China, and then I would come over here for a business meeting, and I met my husband. And so we got married, and I'm in Hong Kong now. So I do a lot of some investments, and I'm an entrepreneur. And I do a lot of activism here. So that's what I do and how I wound up in Hong Kong, and I'm still here after 8 years.
Okay, thank you. All right. And
Hi, everyone. I'm Kina. I'm originally from Pennsylvania in the Philadelphia area. I first came to Japan as a college student when I was a junior. That was in '98. I had a really enjoyable time as an exchange student. So I moved back here in Kansai in 2002. So I've been here almost 18 years. Since then, I've been involved in a lot of community groups and volunteer work. I'm a freelancer, so I teach a little. I have a startup, which is an app, and I also do translation.
okay, excellent. Thank you. All right, so next question coming up. Jane, you said the answer to this one is yes already, but I'd like you to expound upon that answer a little bit. Do you have a background in activism? So can we start with Jane? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, when I moved here to Hong Kong, I started, there's a lot of issues we have here. Well, Hong Kong they don't have exactly the treaty, but they can accept asylum seekers, right?
Okay.
But they cannot grant them asylum here. It's kind of like a landing, it's an easy way to land. So a lot of vulnerable people come here first, and they kind of get trapped here. And they kind of don't want them here, so they can't work, they make it so uncomfortable for you that you rely on NGOs and other people to really help you to be able to survive here. So I started doing like fundraisers, and I like to do a lot of events. So I did fundraisers for a lot of refugees, also foreign domestic helpers. They're also in a very vulnerable community here. So I've done things with them, and also with SEND support, which is special needs children and families. So I saw needs there, and then when I had my son took some time off because he's just turned 6. And I wanted to do a lot of activism work and community work and outreach. And so I started focusing on those areas. Because here, it's a very xenophobic place. So, the foreigners, we're a very small percentage, right? And the racism is very subtle, and there's a lot of classism as well. So it's a little bit different. So I started reaching out to these vulnerable communities and trying to help them, like do activism work for like helpers who have been abused or terminated, refugees who are having some issues. There's a big issue with a lot of refugee women who are having children and pretty much dumping them in the system.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, it's a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts. So that's what how I got started. And I was actually quite surprised, because when you have this expat life, and in places like Hong Kong, which is very flashy, you can really not really see all that, until you dig deeper and you realize how really bad it is. and how neglected they can be. Because there was one issue where there was a Black child was being abused, an African family, a refugee child. And someone called social services and they were like, well, it's their culture, they beat their children. That's cultural. So we don't get into that. You know, like things like that. They're very indifferent, or they feel like they don't really want them here. So there's a lot of issues that are there and resentment. And that's a big problem here. And also with helpers who they consider to be a different sort of class. So I've worked in those areas mainly. And the Black Lives Matter issue, of course, I've always followed it since Trayvon, since it began, okay? Because I'm American and I care about those things. I have family back home. I have an older son back home. I have uncles and nephews and family members. So I've always followed it. But here, when the George Floyd situation happened, I was just paralyzed. I had to do something. I've always done events, but I was like, this is so personal to me, right? What can we do here? But the problem that I had here, and this kind of got a lot of attention for the wrong reasons. We were doing a march, but then you have the Hong Kong protests going on here. And they have this issue with the police brutality, which when you think about what it really is, it's quite different, right? And it's a fast moving train, this Black Lives Matter thing. So they wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to get on this train and bring that attention instead of taking time out to support something else. So that could be a catalyst for also what you're trying to do. And that became a problem because we wanted to focus on the Black Lives Matter movement and also had allies, about allyship. And they wanted to kind of just take it over and make it about their gripes. Most of them didn't even know what Black Lives Matter stands for. Mm-hmm. It's brutality. I'm like,
So you mean when you say they didn't know what Black Lives Matter stand for, you're talking about the protesters who are already in Hong Kong?
The Hong Kong people.
The resident citizens in general.
Yeah. And then the African community, they wanted to make it about their gripes and not really knowing what it's about either.
Right. Okay.
They just wanted to, we're being mistreated too. But in the US, like I said, the protesters were being brutalized or I guess attacked because of what they were standing for, not for because you exist and for what you are. You know what I'm trying to say? Which is the difference.
All right, Jane, can we, we're going to talk in a moment, we're going to talk more about how Black Lives Matter is affecting these different sections in Asia.
Sure, sorry.
But no, perfectly all right, perfectly all right. Kina and Stephanie, can you tell us a little bit about if you have a background in activism?
Sure. I would say kind of similar to what Jane mentioned in terms of the kind of climate or atmosphere in Japan. A little bit of xenophobia, a little bit of homogeneity, and there is diversity in Japan. They have their own diversity. There's diversity within the expat community, but people kind of view it as being homogenous. So in that sense, there are a lot of groups that support foreigners and expats. So I've always been involved in that community. Groups for women, groups for business, groups for people of color. And after coming to Japan, I learned a lot about the other groups that existed to support people in this country. So I've always been involved with the multicultural groups here. So it's a little bit different in Japan in terms of like hardcore activism is a little bit different, but the community groups and how you can support the community is really important. So I've always been involved in that.
Okay. All right, Stephanie. Thank you.
Like I said, I moved here from St. Louis, Missouri. So back in 2014, that's when Michael Brown was killed. And so as it pertains to activism at that perspective, absolutely. I've always had a voice for those that were underserved, even if that meant coworkers that I was working with or myself. And I happened to be one of those coworkers and we just felt, hey, what's happening with our manager isn't right. I would be the first one to speak up and I didn't have any issue. I would also get in trouble for that, but it is what it was, right? So back in 2014, all the way up until I left for Taiwan, which was 2016, I was involved in some type of capacity back in St. Louis. Typically that meant I was attending and taking pictures and participating in that perspective, but I knew people with hands on the ground, feet on the ground that were very close to getting everything organized. And so I can reach out and rely on them when it comes to activism and putting things together here. What I was more involved in back at home in St. Louis was Professional Organization of Women, which is a nonprofit group that helps Black women learn how to set themselves in a successful manner as it relates to being a professional. So setting up meetings, organizing from that perspective is what I'm used to because I was a human resource professional back at home. So that's the vein in which I'm used to.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, Stephanie. Okay, moving forward, what is Black Lives Matter? I'd like to hear from each one of you. What is the meaning of this protest movement? And also, what is the meaning of it? How is it being interpreted where you are? And what is the impact it's having on the place where you're living right now? So I guess, Jane, do you want to go first?
For me, what Black Lives Matter, basically in a nutshell, is we have a problem, especially in the United States of America, with how Black people are being treated, how we are also being, there are issues where we can be in a situation and wind up dead when another demographic does not. I feel like we are not given the respect, given the humanity, given the equality we deserve. So based on that, we're being marginalized and we are being killed. I mean, you have ordinary citizens killing us, police officers killing us, and there's no
accountability.
Accountability. And it's becoming okay to do these things. We've had things on video and it's still happening. So what do we have to do to matter? And I feel like because it's like when you have an endangered species, you pay attention to the one that has the most need. And I feel like right now we need help. We need the focus to be on Black lives because we are in the most danger. And that's what I see it as, why Black Lives Matter, not like it's all lives matter. The point is why we have to focus on our issues because right now we are the most vulnerable. Our children, our women, our men. So this is the reason why Black Lives Matter was formed, because we have to do something about what's happening with Black lives, especially in America, all over, yes, but in America, where you're supposed to have justice and equality and all these things to protect us, and they're not working for us.
Okay. All right. Well, just to before you finish, Jane, is there a Black Lives Matter movement in Hong Kong? Because you were telling us a moment ago, there's a lot happening in Hong Kong right now with protests, with laws being in proximity to China, with the COVID-19 situation. There's that, but what you're bringing, you said it was a kind of a poetry night. What can you explain that?
There's no formal movement, but what we wanted to do was this. We did the march, and then also I was on a panel last Saturday for allyship, how we can ally with other organizations, and Black Lives Matter, in that sense of what it is, to help each other and to tackle the issue that as it relates here. Also, I was in 2015, I won the co-founders of the first International Black History Month. So every year we did an event for Black History Month. The first one was a long week, and now we just do a poetry, post of the African diaspora. We do that every year. And because of COVID in February, we didn't do it February. However, we turned into an event that we just did 2 weeks ago. And we raised money for the ACLU, to benefit Black Lives Matter. Also, what I'm working on now is a large event. It's called An Uncomfortable Conversation About Racism and Discrimination in Hong Kong. To give the opportunity to discuss it and bring it to under the Black Lives Matter, umbrella, but it's a conversation because we have to tailor things to how they fit here. But we're putting that out there still under Black Lives Matter, but we're just using it to make it relevant in where we are because they won't understand it in that way. We're a low minority here, Black people, but there are other people of color that are affected in a certain way, but they're not killing people on the street. You know what I'm trying to say? It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But we can
issues.
also make it relevant to what's happening here. So this conversation, meaning people are very subtle here. It's very subtle in racism. It's very, nasty. if you know, if I want to say. So we want to have I have a couple panelists, anthropologists, I have a couple people that in the community, and I want to have every demographic available. And we want to discuss, ask questions, you know, like, why are you going to touch my hair? Or if I tell you I'm from the US, you go, well, you look like you're from Nigeria, Africa. You know, that you have this thing, you know, where your grandmother from? And your grandma's grandma? And who else? You know, these type of things that don't make a lot of sense. Like, you can be maybe a Filipino professional and they think you're a helper.
Yeah.
Just because of stereotypes. So we want to have these uncomfortable conversations in a room. I'm probably going to be working with different teams that are here, and I've done really big events. So we're going to put it together as an event, have a panel. We're going to air out all the dirt and kind of get an understanding, hopefully, you know, and have conversations about why some things are not okay, you know, and what we can do to be better. Because sometimes they don't really get it. Or they don't really understand, like some of the commercials you've seen in China and Asia about, you know, like, it's just a bit ridiculous. Yeah, they're very, but to them, it's like, but, you know, or like my son has really curly hair. No, you can't touch his hair. Let me touch your hair, you know, but it's like, I want to know, why do you feel it's okay to do it? I remember one time I was getting my lashes done, and the girl was like, oh, you know, where are you from? And remember a long time ago, that was that South African guy that had robbed the reporter on the news. Oh, actually, she was live. Did you say I see that?
I didn't know.
Well, there was a reporter in South Africa, and she was talking. She's like, and she got actually robbed while reporting. Anyway, so this was on the news or whatever, something. So she's doing my lashes, and she's like, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from the U.S." And she said, "Oh, well, you look like maybe South Africa or something." So I was like, I could just say, I just told you where I was from, but you know what? It was a teaching moment. I said, well, you look like you could be from Vietnam, Philippines, Japan, you know?
Yeah.
Korea. She said, I said, mainland China. She said, I said, you know, look the same, different people. Where are you from? Hong Kong. Oh, well, I believe you. You tell me you're from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And she paused and she got it. Better than me being rude. I said, let me teach her something. And that's what I decided to do, because I believe that the problem with anything is speaking up. I think silence is being complicit in something. If you see something wrong and you feel safe enough, you know, say something. And a lot of times we don't. And like with allies, white people are now saying something. People that are out there, we needed this. I mean, right now things are happening because, I mean, you got people pulling off Facebook. Funding, money is starting to affect things now. So if we don't have allies and people who don't look like us helping us, we're not going to reach our goals. So I think that it's really important that we teach people things, that understand how we feel, and just as anger. I don't want to be a victim. I want solution. I want equality. I don't want you to give me anything. Just give me an even playing field. Treat me equally.
Okay, Jane, let us definitely know when that panel discussion comes out so we can watch it, listen to it. Do you know Innocent Mutanga, who's there with the Africa Center?
Yes, I do. Do you want me to say something about that, or you would prefer me not, or say it off?
I don't know. It just caught my mind. I know him he actually used to be my roommate, and I know what he's doing. It sounds like exactly what you're doing. I think if it's not the same thing.
Oh, it's not the same thing.
Oh, okay. All right, okay. It just caught my mind.
I think it's probably not the forum to say this, because I believe that some people are utilizing this for the wrong reason. Some people like to benefit from being victimization, you know, about woe is me, we need help. He's from the refugee community, as you know.
Yeah.
That he actually was a catalyst in us not having the march. Yeah, he had an event that night, and he was a part of the problem in us not having that march. And one of the reasons why we didn't have the march, because he wanted all the attention on himself. And what happened was, because it's COVID time, the march got to 2,000 people. We had to social distance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because he was asked at a late, we had a different panel for that march. And one of the gentlemen, who's not Black, but he's an ally, he wanted, you know, he's the one that really kind of sparked to do this, because I figured, how can we do this during COVID? You know, there's a law out there, plus because of the protesters. So anyways, when we had this, when we reached out to the African community, someone else was handling that. And for some reason, I guess he felt that he wasn't asked the proper way. which is ridiculous, he kind of lashed out on these people that weren't Black. And I don't have time for that. We need allies. We need to work together with people. We are a minority here. And so I didn't like the way that conversation was going. And so he wrote a big letter on Facebook about being victimized and exploited when I'm a Black American woman who's actually organizing this. And he didn't tell the truth. And he left that up there and wanted to be a victim. He wanted to have attention to his cause. So that's what happened, unfortunately. And it's the truth. I mean, there's receipts. And I talked to him about that. I said, you know what? We had a conversation. And I was like, you either want to be a part of it or you don't. He left up a letter to cause a lot of problems. And it had no reason other to bring attention to himself. And it was absolutely unacceptable. So that's where I'm going to leave that.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing that. Stephanie. Okay, Stephanie, you want to go next. Black Lives Matter in Taiwan. What does the movement in general mean to you? And how is it impacting the place where you're living now?
I mean, first and foremost, I want to say, Jane, sis, man, that's a lot going on over there. But secondly, I agree 100% with what Jane explained related to BLM, right? My life matters. Me, SMD, all four of these people on this call, Wes, Jane, Kina, we all matter, right? And we all matter because our skin is brown and our hair is curly and we don't look like the majority, right? Our people are being killed for walking, running, wearing a hoodie and buying Skittles and iced tea. There's barely anything we can do and just stay alive, okay? My life matters. That's what that means to me, all right? My sister, my cousin, everybody in my family, life matter. All these people on this call, this video chat, and people I know, y'all life matter. That's what that means to me. What does that mean for Taiwan? Related to our solidarity rally, it wasn't against Taiwan in any form or the sense. It was bringing awareness to the issues that we as Black people are dealing with back in America. And yes, the organizers were not in America. We're not in America currently. However, we know what that experience is like. We've been there, and at some point in time, we may return back home. So our family is there right now. They're also dealing with this. It's an opportunity to bring awareness to the issues that our family members, our friends are dealing with, and asking for people to take an hour, 2 hours out of your day and experience what this life is like just for a moment. So my hope was people came, they heard, they learned, and they walked away wanting to do more. They came, felt uncomfortable because some of the call to action that we did as it relates to a moment of silence read for George Floyd, which was 8 minutes, 46 seconds long. It was uncomfortable. But guess what? Living in this Black skin in America is uncomfortable every day, not just for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, it's every day. So that 8 minutes and 46 seconds, that uncomfortability, hopefully gave people a little bit of a taste of what it's like. And probably not enough, but hope people have empathy about what we're going through. The feedback that I've heard thus far has been very, very positive feedback related to our solidarity rally. And we're looking forward to doing more events going forward as a group. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Steph. Thanks, Stephanie, very good. Kina, you're up next. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with everything that Jane and Stephanie said earlier in terms of how they described the movement. I think that the importance for us in terms of doing something in Japan was really to raise awareness about the issues, because, you know, when you're overseas, the news cycle is different. People's general level of knowledge is very different. So there are many people in Japan that consume Black popular culture on the regular, whether it's art or music or movies or creativity, and also American pop culture and UK pop culture. You know, they love it. but they think that everything is fantastic in these places. So they don't see the negative side or the unjust side. So we really wanted to bring it to the forefront of people's minds that everything is not great in these places. This is the problematic things that happen daily to people of color, especially to Black people, because it's not on the average person's mind. And I think the march that we had, in Osaka, that we had was very successful. It just happened to be that it was the first one in Japan, and it ended up inspiring other cities to have marches. So there have been multiple marches in Japan. There was even one today in Nagoya. So I want to say there's been about 6 maybe in different cities, maybe more. The interesting thing and the unique kind of, I don't want to say problem, but situation is what Jane mentioned. When you are an expat, the expat community is diverse in and of itself. And we have people from the entire African diaspora living here. And, I say this often, that Black people are not a monolith. We don't always think the same way. So it's not always easy for us to unite on things that you think should be important to everyone in your mind. So, for example, there are official Black Lives Matter chapters in the UK and Canada. So those communities are not so hard to rally together. But when you look at the kind of pan-Black community when you're overseas, this has been a unique opportunity to get everyone together on the same page about the same thing. And also, I think maybe Jane mentioned, people also do experience discrimination in Asia in a little bit of a different way, the local community as well. So the most interesting thing is what will happen from now, how we can work together with each other and work together with the local community and do different things.
Okay, excellent. Very well said, Kina. Next question. In all the places where you are, Stephanie, you're in Taiwan, and Jane, you're in Hong Kong, Kina, you're in Osaka. The Black Lives Matter movement there, where did it come from? Like, I'm asking, how did you become affiliated with this movement? Is it solely your own initiative? Was it just you and maybe a group of friends that you have? How did you become a part of this movement? Like, where did it come from where you are right now? So I guess maybe Steph, can you go first?
Sure. How I became affiliated, I'm Black. That's the first requirement, I guess. Mm-hmm. But as it relates to the solidarity rally, I just had an idea. And as Jane spoke about, the George Floyd incident was very personal for me. Don't get me wrong. Many other incidents have been very personal, but something really triggered. Like, I saw my father, who is now gone, passed away a couple of years ago, but George Floyd is tall and Black like my dad. And I know my dad. He could have easily walked. It could have been him. It could have been me. It could have been my cousin. It could have been any and everyone I know. And I think that's what really triggered for me. And those 8 minutes and 46 seconds were long as hell. They were long as hell to watch that video and listening to that man cry to his mama. Like, just everything all together, it was way too much. Way too much. And that's what really hit for me. I made a post on a brothers and sisters group in Taiwan. Brothers and sisters groups are in various other countries in Southeastern Asia, and probably maybe across the world. I'm not really sure. But I made a post and I said, hey, is there a way that we could sell t-shirts? Would y'all support me to send the money back to BLM in America? People were like, yep, I'm down for it. Some people were like, hey, I want to do a protest. I was going to reach out to you anyway. And then the ball started to roll. I got to work. My boss, who's Latina, she reached out and said, hey, I have an idea for these t-shirts. Let's do this. And I was like, okay, well, and then my cousin reached out, and it just started to be a ball of movement, and people all felt touched and they all wanted to do something. So a small group of us got together and we were like, all right, idea. Let's put it all together. How do we make this work? And before you knew it, we had a solidarity rally and executed in 10 days. I never suggested, Kina, I think you guys did a rally or a protest, a march in shorter than 10 days. I'm sure you can attest. Don't do it in such a short time. It's a lot. But it was done and it was executed well. So that's all I can ask for. But I think that's really how I got affiliated, if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. All right. Next would be Jane.
Hi. Like what Stephanie said, when I saw, I've always been an actor. Something's wrong, I'm jumping in to help. But when I saw, I have yet to watch the entire video. It was that traumatizing for me. You know, we watch news late here, right? Because it's like, you know, the time. So I wanted to wake my husband up. I was so upset. So I was like, I wanted to do something. But we had an issue with the protesters and them wanting to keep the numbers low because we had June 4th coming, which is from Tiananmen. So it was just the time. We had over 2,000 people who Hong Kong wanted to come out. But as an organizer, I could have been arrested if I would have had 2,000 people come out there. Some of them protesters who wanted, you know, and I couldn't control it. And I was not about to go to jail, you know. I mean, if you look at, I don't know if you can see my nails. Black Lives, Justice for Floyd, Stop Killing Us. I mean, I
can see that, yeah.
Something personal to me. So when we had our event, we decided to move it into a private event. It was sold out. We could have made it even bigger, but you know, we want to watch the social distancing. You know how we opened? I had a young Black gentleman sing that song, I'm a young Black man. It was complete a cappella. That's how we opened it up. We also performed Janelle Monáe's Hell You Talking About. We said their names, okay? We took them to church. It was personal. I wanted them to feel how we felt. This was a personal issue, and I wanted people to be to understand why we're out here marching, why Black Lives Matter, and what it was all about, and to raise funds. I wanted to take it from just being a spectacle and a march, and people wanted to all jump on this train, you know, and we remixed Lauryn Hill and sung it live, Black Rage. We slowed it down, so the words were very articulate. I mean, I'll show you guys some clips if you guys want me to, about what happened, how we really took them to church and we wanted to educate them. And the poetry, these are professional poets, it was all top notch, you know, because I wanted to bring them into our pain, you know, because a lot of them just didn't know what it was.
Jane, when you say we, is it a group of people that you organized with? Exactly.
People that, you know, we could do virus. We had singers, we had performers. Yeah, because I do events, so we have a team that's ready always. We do other things, so yeah, everyone was like, "What can we do?" But there are people who are like, you know, I'm not Black, so maybe I'll stay in my lane here. Okay, what do you need me to do? And I said, well, this is what we want this to look like, because we know what this is about, and we want them to understand what it's about. Because a lot of the times, I felt like with Hong Kong, they wanted to just get on this fast moving train. They didn't care where it was going. They wanted the attention. And somebody said, you know what? Let me drive the train. That's what started to happen. And I didn't want that. I wanted to understand what Black Lives Matter meant. It can be a catalyst. We can ally. But I don't want to become, you know, and then we canceled the march. A few folks came out, you know, there's one guy who's like a politician here, a Chinese guy. He's like, all lives matter. You know, people in Hong Kong, they were out there, protesters, you know, at one other time, we can't breathe. I mean, it was becoming, they didn't understand. So we had an issue where somebody called me a Karen. So I just want you to understand.
What is, can you elaborate on that a bit? What is a Karen?
It's on Twitter, you can, if you want to put my name in, it's there. So the thing is, they were saying, how can she talk about police brutality where she lives and not at home? And I'm like, you want to see police brutality? You know what I mean? It's like, they just didn't have an understanding. Some people got it. And I was getting private messages saying, she's just being a Karen. I'm like, if you knew what being a Karen was, you would understand it's not appropriate to use. But a lot of it is just because they were saying, but you know, when Hong Kong had these issues last year, people were in America, US, Canada, protesting about what was happening in Hong Kong. You can care about what happens back home, even if you're not home. Okay, I protest in my country, going to my consulate and having a fit. But you want to go to my, and the thing is, the protesters kind of like idolize Trump a little bit. Some of them like, help us, Trump, you're amazing. And I think a lot of them just didn't understand. So my thing is, educate people. You want to be a part of this? That's great. But I want you to know what we are here doing. And I felt that would, if I was getting interviews, I would ask the interviewer, do you know what Black Lives Matter stand for? You know, police killing the Black people. And I'm like, pause. Let me first explain to you what this is about and why this is so personal for us, you know? And then when you kind of get them, their eyes are like, oh, I understand. And I'm just like, I had to write an open letter because everybody's writing these narratives and all the stuff that was happening. And no, it was all lost with Black Lives Matter. It became something, it's a private event we had, which sold out. Everyone that came there left knowing what Black Lives Matter was about and understanding what the pain we go through. It was so emotional. We were doing Janelle Monáe Say Their Names.
So
These
when
are
you
people
say,
who
sorry,
died.
Jane, when you say everyone who came there, exactly what event did they go to where they learned that
We
information?
had a poetry and solidarity. I can send you the links and the clips for it.
Okay.
It was an event, and the poetry was all about Black Lives Matter events. And then we had 3 musical guests, musical numbers. The first opened in a cappella with the I'm a Young Black Man. You know that little boy that sang that song? I'm a young. We had an artist, a young Black artist, to sing that song in complete silence. That's how we opened. And then we started. And then in the middle of the show, we did Janelle Monáe Say Their Names. We were saying the names of people who were killed, real people. We even tweaked the ad, the latest people that have died. Even Rashad, you know, we put him on there as well. Because these are people, say their names, meaning these people mattered, these people existed. Okay. These people are now dead. So they understood.
Jane,
they were like,
when was the poetry event and exactly who organized it? The 18th of June. I
was one of the organizers. Peel Street my husband's also. Peel Street Poetry has been around for 14 years. My husband's one of the directors on there. So we've done the Black American event every year as well with the poetry event. So that's who organized it. And so me as well. So it's a team of us, you know, that got together to do this, but they were like, with events like this, people stay in their lanes. If there's going to be a certain thing, they were like, well, you guys are doing the lead on this. You know what I'm trying to say? And how we wanted this to look. So my husband and myself, okay, and also other organizers that helped, but we were the ones in the front of how it looked, what it looked like. And like I said, it was an event for solidarity. Okay. We want people to understand what it was and know what they were marching for and what this meant to us. And when they left, they were like, oh my God. Even Black people, one girl said, I have a place to grieve and not alone. And how that feels to be home and in a foreign place and grieving. And it was, people were out there like, say their name. We had people that didn't look like us that understood. And I'm like, what are you doing next? What can we do to help? I'm getting all these messages and how they understood what this meant. And we wanted to put the money for the tickets, even the venue, everything was donated to the movement. Because it wasn't about getting attention, jumping on something. It was about, what are we going to do to make a difference for this movement? Because we have a small minority here. We have to first educate people and then find a way to support this back home. Places like the UK, they understand because it's kind of similar to what's happening, right? But a place like this, homogenous, xenophobia, and then I am aware, I'm sure you guys all too, our passports as Black people, we're in a different category than other vulnerable people like Africans or Southeast Asians. It's a little bit different. Our accent. You know, I've been to Beijing and I was at the thing, they can tell your accent when you're coming off trying to say something. They're like, where you from? You know, they know. It's like people know. And we try to use, you know what, I use that so-called privilege to help other people as well. You know what I'm saying? Because there are times when I was at a hospital and there was a helper being mistreated by the staff, you know, talking down to her. And I was visiting someone else, and I stepped in. I said, "Excuse me, you know, how can I help you? What's going on?" You know, because I knew, and you know what, my American accent and my Americanism, where I want to, you know, how we are, we want to like, what's going on? They stopped, and they fixed it, and they treated her better. They were like, "Well, do you know her? Why are you helping her?" I said, "I'm helping her because what you're doing is wrong." "Are you a lawyer?" It was like, you know, it became that if you see something, you know, you do something. There was an article of a little Black girl. Her parents are refugees. She was wandering around the street. She was 4 or 5 at 2 a.m. by herself. And I'm like, this ain't right. People are talking about it, but nobody did anything. I'm like, I'm calling people up in the community and who's this little girl? Who's her mother? We located her within 2 days. But the story is, she's been in the paper 3 times. Once she was 1 year old, abandoned, and another time. I'm like, well, who's gonna do something? Who's gonna do something? And they asked me, trying people, why do you want to help her? Because that could be my daughter. I mean, no, if you don't be my daughter, she could be my sister's daughter, a friend's daughter. She's Black, and I care. You care, but you don't know her. This is what they asked social worker. I said, I care. She's being molested, and people knew about it in the community she's in, and nobody did anything. She's being molested. She's now in a foster home. Her mother's on drugs. Everybody knew in the community. In Chungking Manor was a very famous place. No one did anything. But I'm up here. I'm like, I cannot sleep unless I know what I can do to help. So that's the kind of person I've always been. I've gotten into a lot of messes. I've been like, oh Lord, what have I got myself into? It's happened. But I just could not do nothing. She could have been, I have a child. And she was wandering the streets. Hong Kong is safe. She was in the US or somewhere else. She might be on the milk carton, or she may be dead. You know, so that bothered me, but it should be bothering more people.
Okay.
But yeah.
Thanks, Jane. Okay. All right. Keena, you're up next. Same question.
Yeah, sure. So I'll just reiterate. So for Japan, there's no official chapters of Black Lives Matter. So we can't, you know, we're not affiliated with the actual group at home, but very similar, again, to what Jane and Stephanie said. There were just a group of us here that we felt like there's no way that this could go by and not do anything to show support from where we live. So we're very fortunate, just like you guys, we have a lot of groups that support the multicultural community. We have a very active group called Black Creatives Japan, which focus on Black artists and creativity. There's Black women in Japan, Africans in Japan, Blacks in Japan, just multiple like brothers and sisters types of groups. So a lot of us in Kansai are part of those groups and know each other anyway. Similar to what Jane said, we plan events and fundraisers and community things. So it was very, very quick, as Stephanie mentioned. So Ayana Wise and Samantha Milligan, they're part of Black Creatives Japan. I think it was their original idea, and they just started, you know, tapping other people to come on board. And we put our march together in 5 days. And I don't recommend it. Like you said, our original plan was for, 200 people will come. We'll just tell our friends and friends of friends, it'd be fine. And it ended up being about 2,000 people, which is really good because this is not Tokyo. This is not Tokyo. So for that many people to come out and to see the support and for a lot of people, it felt like, you know, the first time that you could see the non-Black expat community really come out in droves and support, you know, a Black issue. Another really beautiful thing is as we were marching, just people on the street, like moms on bikes, fists in the air, old men, you know, dawdling along, fists in the air, clapping. It was beautiful. Never seen anything like it before. And to bring the message home, when we gathered at the end, we did have a lot of speakers. Some an American woman, an American man who's Afro-Latino, and a woman from the UK whose father actually lived in the US. And so we had, you know, different speakers just to say kind of what it means to them, which was very powerful. We did the 8-minute, 40-second moment of silence. It was just, you know, a powerful moment. People did feel uncomfortable. They had to sit in that uncomfort. There was a lot of tears. But the good thing is a lot of people reaching out and asking us like, well, what's next? What do we do next? You know, and I think that's the most exciting thing. Another thing I just want to mention about our team, like Jane said, we also, we had a multicultural team that put this together. It was mostly, I don't even know if I can say it was mostly Black people. We also had some Caucasian members, Japanese member, I think Japanese Peruvian member. And just like Jane said, they want to help, they want to be involved, but also be respectful and, you know, do what's needed and not overstep. So it was a really, really good experience of allyship and showing people how to be allies and showing others, especially local Japanese, how to support. So that's kind of how, because we have all the Black networks already existing in Japan, we could just rely on those networks and use our tools that we already have in networking and social media in order to pull it together really quickly. The funny thing that happened with us in the beginning, we only told the police, like I mentioned, 200, and Naomi Osaka retweeted our flyer on her Twitter, the famous tennis player, and then it just kind of went crazy from there. So we were really, really lucky to have a really good day. And we're just looking forward to what we can do next with people in the community and hopefully with you guys in Hong Kong and Taiwan as well, because I think we can, you know, it's important that we just unite together and support Black lives wherever they are.
Okay, yeah, so that's exactly what I was thinking in like trying to talking to all of you in one place at one time. All right, let's move towards wrapping up this interview. The last question I want to ask is, what is your trajectory? Meaning, where do you see this movement going over the next several months and even the next few years? What are your goals, midterm goals, long-term goals? What are some of the issues that need to be addressed, and what issues is Black Lives Matter addressing where you are, and what will it be addressing going forward into the future? All right, so Steph, you want to start?
Sure. So for us, I think that I want to make sure to be clear, we are not a Black Lives Matter chapter. Our group is not calling ourselves Black Lives Matter out of respect for BLM back in America. They have their chapters that's established, and we can Google the steps on how to become a chapter. However, at this moment in time, that is not my personal decision, not because I don't believe in it, none of those negative reasons. It's the rigmarole that comes with that. Also keeping in mind, I'm in Taiwan, there's a whole nother level of concern related to our Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter movement, as Jane and Kina have already spoken to. There's a lot more different nuances. The microaggressions that are major here is not as significant as back at home. It's more overt back at home, whereas here it's a lot more covert, and they don't even recognize they're doing it because that's what they see in movies. So that's what they think should be happening. And I also had some teachable moments with people who have asked me really concerning questions, like, how do I know that it's a stereotype? Well, have you thought about the director of the movie you were watching? Have you considered, was this cast all Black, or was it satire? Like, there's so many other questions you could be asking yourself when you just watch this movie with this random Black person in it, right? But nevertheless, where we're going. Right now, we're in the process of rebranding, identifying truly who we want to be. As Kina and both Jane have previously mentioned, we did have some support. A local NGO here was willing to put their legal name on the documents that we needed as it relates to our permits, which was, we can't thank them enough. And it really allowed us to move from a financial standpoint as well as a permit standpoint legally in order to get what we needed to have done. Every dollar that we received for donations has already been sent out and donated to organizations across the world because, as Kina and Jane have already expressed, we're in Taiwan. And so we're a small, minute minority, even still as just Black expats from America, right? You have Black expats from the African diaspora. You have people from South America. You have people from Australia. You have people from London and the UK, right? So when it came to making donations, their concern was, well, why does it have to always be about America? Okay, you know what? That is a fair question, and it's not my money, so I'm willing to donate it wherever you like. Can you give me some suggestions? And so we ended up with 3 organizations in America, 2 organizations in Africa, and then, of course, locally. We felt that it was important to donate locally as well. And so as it relates to where we're going, just hitting that rebranding, identifying how we want to look going forward, because there are 2 other Black social organizations here. We have Taipei is Listening. We also have BLM Taiwan, which I believe they're working on becoming an official chapter. I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to put words in their mouth. So if I misspeak, I apologize right now. And then Taipei is Listening. So in conjunction with them, we're trying to find a way that we fit based off of what me and the team would like to do going forward. So that's where we are. Short-term goals, rebranding, identifying who we are as a whole. Additionally, adding in conjunction and how we can work with the 2 other social groups. Maybe in the next 3 months, holding another event, not a rally, because those are difficult, but hopefully also becoming an official organization here in Taiwan so that we can legally handle our business the way that we need to without anyone else.
Excellent, Stephanie. Thank you for that. Can we next go to Kina? And Kina, can you take the same question about your trajectory? What is the organization where you are doing moving forward?
Sure. Very similar to what Stephanie said. As we're not an official group, there's kind of a few things that we're thinking about. We need to decide our roadmap, vision, mission, what we want to do in the next few months or even more. So we are looking into what it takes to become an official group, but at the same time, also not sure if that's the best thing for where we are. Because of, as Stephanie mentioned, we have Black people living in Japan that are originally from everywhere. So it might not be the best choice. There are some other, we have multiple brothers and sisters types groups that exist already, and another one in the works. So perhaps it'll be some type of umbrella thing. I can say though that for as far as Black Lives Matter Kansai, the kind of unofficial group that we have here, we've been focusing now post-March on just how to continue to educate people and keep the momentum and keep people engaged. So we've been basically focusing on content creation and outreach. So we find articles related to Black Lives Matter or Black history, and we have a translation team that gets the information into Japanese and post it on social media. So we keep people informed because they really do not have, like Stephanie mentioned, why is this a stereotype? Why is that bad? They really just don't know. So we have to continue to educate people on the issue, even though a lot of the marches are over. Also with outreach, we're focusing on schools, community groups, anywhere from elementary school up to university, other community organizations, even businesses and corporations, doing workshops or, it's COVID, so most of these are happening online. But when it's safe, to meet in person, we will do that just to have a little bit more understanding about racism, discrimination. We're very concerned right now with keeping the message focused on Black lives, but because where we are, we do understand the kind of different forms of discrimination that are very subtle in Asia Covert, like Stephanie mentioned, for multiple groups. And so in order to make that bridge, we might need to figure out how to adjust, you know, our name to incorporate a larger message, but it's not something that's decided or concrete, so I can't really say, but we are looking forward to doing multiple things in the future.
All right, Kina, thank you very much for your answer. And Jane, trajectory going forward into the future.
I again, like the other ladies, I don't see right now how having a chapter here would be best served, because one, the Black community here, expat community, and then, you know, Africa's a continent. And there's already a lot of issues there with the other Africans are here off different places, different languages, different cultures. And sadly, again, we have an issue coming together. That has to be the first thing that needs to be done. Secondly, right now, I want to have conversations where people in Asia can understand. We all get together. I'm having every demographic that I can. And a lot of people that are professionals and understand this are going to be on the panel. And regular people can ask questions. We're going to have a conversation about, there's not a subtlety, like when you mentioned about stereotypes. I think I try to reverse it on people. Like, there's one time I had a friend, and she, you know, she's a Black singer. They love Black singers in Asia, okay? Even if you can't sing, you can come out here and make a dollar, girl. If you know, that happens. Anyways, so my friend was with me, she's from LA, she's an amazing singer. We were somewhere trying to say, oh, hi. And she goes, I said, oh, she sings. You sing too? And I said, no, I'm in business. She goes, I thought all Black people sing. I said, I didn't think all of y'all did Kung Fu. But I just want her to understand that's a stereotype. And if they understand it, when you say, oh, she's like, yeah, I didn't think that because I figured some of you guys did and some of you guys didn't, you know? And I think a lot of the time they tend to lump us into that, right? And I feel like this conversation, and we're doing a big event. We're gonna do, we wanna do like a big, almost like a TED Talk type of event, right? Where people have an opportunity to get things out. When you feel like you are being discriminated against and it's very subtle, it builds up. And there's no place for it to go. And people need to ask questions, because sometimes people just don't know what they're doing. And in this opportunity to be a catalyst to make it applicable here, I'm gonna still support back home and what the Black Lives Matter movement means in itself. And I don't want to change that, because there's still work to be done, okay? But I live in Hong Kong. I need to tailor this action to where I am and how I can best serve the community by tailoring it. You go to McDonald's, different places, they've changed a few things, okay, to make it work for where you are. So I think that that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. But the problem with the Black community, this has been a conversation. What happened with the Africa Center in the city? The conversation started happening about how we need to stop being divided, and how it's not about just self. That's part of the problem in the Black community as a whole. And we can't be abroad doing the same stuff, okay? So that's my number one thing there, was far as a catalyst to kind of bring us back together, and how we can build something and have conversations that are uncomfortable. But if you get answers and you talk about stuff, you can see some change, you know? And I feel like I have to tackle that first. I would love to continuously be involved in this, but having a Black Lives Matter chapter here, I think would be a disservice, because of where we are and for what it means. I don't want to water it down, you know? It is what it is. And a lot of us go abroad to get away from that kind of stuff, you know? A lot of us are away because we want something different, and we don't want to have the cop car go off and we start jumping and our chest come out of our bodies. We don't want that, and we haven't had to feel that by living abroad. So I don't want to do it a disservice by changing it into something else. I want to use it as a catalyst. I want to respect it always and refer back to it. And I want to educate people how they can be better allies, and how when you know better, you can do better. So that's my plan for taking this and just add it to what I'm always going to do, but kind of tailoring it to fit what's happening right now. And we have many different things going on right now in Hong Kong. So I want to also respect that as well. But I would like for the Black community here at least to get it together, to have conversations as well, and to realize that we're in this together and how we can work together and use it. But discrimination and racism is here. And I want to use this to tackle that. So that's my goal for the next near future, to kind of work on this. I'll let you guys know about how the conversation goes. We're going to make it live as well, Facebook Live. People can actually ask questions. I want people to get out what's bothering them. I want people to talk about how you make people, you know, I don't know about where you guys are, but there are people who won't rent to Indians, Africans. They will tell the realtor that they won't rent to them, or only Americans. I mean, it's happening now. Therefore, for teaching. Sometimes a white face can be absolutely less qualified than you. Absolutely. But the parents in the school want to see that. We want to have these kind of conversations, because this is what affects us here in Asia. Because it's like, you can have someone that can have half your credentials, not even be a native speaker, okay? And somehow they're more qualified than you. So these are the kind of conversations we need to have while everybody else is talking about it in the world. This is how I can best serve the community here, by having these conversations. So that's what I'm planning to do with the Black Lives Matter movement. It's still dear to my heart. I'm still gonna, you know, support it, but I'm gonna tailor it here. But I'm not gonna open a chapter, because I know it's grassroots. It takes us all getting out there. And also the vote. I will be putting my energy into November, okay? Because the people that are here, we need to unite in that and do something to make changes back home. So that's where my energy is going to be spent. And I'll keep you guys updated. Let me know what you guys are doing as well. Let's stay in touch.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm not trying to talk too much, and I apologize today, but that's the way that I try to go at everything with everything. I'm really passionate about what I believe in, what I do. So that's why I'm here. So thanks for having this conversation.
Excellent, not a problem. Thank you for joining. Any final thoughts? Is there anything anyone wants to just say or plug, or the information for what you're doing will be posted up along with this video. Anything else from anyone before we wrap up?
Sure, I just wanted to say that I think we're at a very interesting time in history. This has not been the first instance of over-policing or police brutality by far, but the difference is how it's resonating all around the world, how people are showing up wherever they are in numbers. It doesn't matter if there was a video of like three little white girls pulling their wheelbarrow on their sunny sidewalk street with some teddy bears, yelling Black Lives Matter was the cutest thing I've ever seen. You saw that?
I saw it.
So it doesn't matter, just a small amount of people, what race there are, whether there's thousands of people in Berlin or Copenhagen, or any of the other cities that happen. We're at a really, really unique time where we are able to have a conversation about systemic racism and injustice. And I think because we are in Asia and we have the connections that we have, we can really lead this dialogue to get our local communities to understand systemic racism and do whatever we can to improve the situation of Black people elsewhere. So I think we're really lucky to be in this time and to be able to have the technology to work together. So I look forward to doing that.
All right. Okay. If that's it, let's wrap up. Thank you for the discussion, ladies. Black Asian Magazine. All right.